Good morning. I would like to share a story with you this morning. Another one of my favorites out of a devotion book that I have used with teachers and students through the years. This is an interesting story about actually death and dying. And the story is called Keep Your Fork. Here it goes like this. The sound of Martha's voice on the other end of the telephone always brought a smile to Pastor Jim's face. She was not one of the oldest members of the congregation, but one of the most faithful. Aunt Marty, as all the children called her, just seemed to ooze faith, hope, and love wherever she went. This time, however, there seemed to be an unusual tone to her words. Pastor, could you stop by this afternoon? I need to talk with you. Of course, he replied. I will be there around 3 o'clock. Is that okay? As they sat facing each other in the quiet of her small living room that afternoon, Jim learned the reason for what he sensed in her voice. Martha shared the news that her doctor had just discovered a previously undetected tumor. He says I probably have 6 months to live. Martha's words were certainly serious, yet there was a definite calm about her. I'm so sorry to hear, but before Pastor Jim could finish, Martha interrupted. Don't be. The Lord has been good. I have lived a long life. I'm ready to go home. You know that. I know, Jim whispered with a reassuring nod. But she went on, I do want to talk with you about my funeral. I've been thinking about it, and there are things that I know I want. The two talked quietly for a long time. They talked about Martha's favorite hymns, the passages of scripture that had meant so much to her through the years, and the memories that they shared from the past 5 years that Pastor Jim had been at their church. When it seemed that they had covered just about everything, Aunt Marty paused, looked up at Jim, and said with a twinkle in her eye, then she added, one more thing, Pastor. When they bury me, I want my old Bible in one hand and a fork in the other. A fork? Pastor Jim was sure he had heard everything, but that caught him by surprise. Why do you want to be buried with a fork? And Marty replied, I have been thinking about all of the church dinners and banquets that I attended through the years, she explained. I couldn't begin to count them all, but one thing sticks in my mind. At those really nice get-togethers, when the meal was almost finished, a server or maybe the hostess would come by to collect all the dirty plates and dishes. I can hear the words now. Sometimes at the best banquets, somebody would lean over my shoulder and say, you can keep your fork. And you know what that meant? Dessert was coming. It didn't mean a cup of Jell-O or a dip of ice cream. You don't need a fork for that. It meant the good stuff, like a chocolate cake or a cherry or maybe a peach pie or even a cobbler. When they told me I could keep my fork, I knew that the best was yet to come. That's exactly what I want people to talk about at my funeral. Sure, they can talk about all the good times we had together. That would be nice. But when they walk by my casket and look at my pretty blue dress, I want them to look at each other and say, why the fork? That's what I want you to say. I want you to tell them that I kept my fork because the best is yet to come. May God's grace surround you and keep you safe today. I love you.